Kmart did everything wrong and absolutely deserved their failure.
Kmart is your savings store, where your dollar buys you more.
From the time they opened in 1962 till the early 2000s, Kmart dominated the discount retail industry. At their peak in 1994, they had 2,400 stores, 350,000 employees, and $37 billion in revenue. They were the second largest retailer in the United States after Walmart. But these days, it's nearly impossible to find a Kmart. In 2023, Kmart has just 2 locations left in the United States, one in Miami, Florida, and one in Long Island, New York. Since their heyday, their business has shrunk by over 99%, and it's only a matter of time before Kmart disappears forever. In perhaps the biggest coincidence in retail history, Kmart, Walmart, and Target all opened their first stores in 1962. Yet, when looking at these 3 companies, it's glaringly obvious that one is a massive failure, while the other 2 are money-making machines. However, Kmart's issues are anything but recent. They've been hanging on by a thread for decades now, and every challenge they're currently facing is the result of decisions made or not made since they began. Slowly but surely, Kmart destroyed their own business through self-inflicted wounds. You can trace Kmart's roots all the way back to the year 1897, when Sebastian Kresge and John McCrory formed a partnership to open 5 and dime stores in Memphis and Detroit. But in 1899, they dissolved the partnership, and McCrory took over the stores in Memphis, while Kresge maintained the Detroit stores, forming the SS Kresge Company. By 1912, the SS Kresge Company had 85 stores and over $10 million in sales. At this point, they decided to incorporate, and in 1918, they went public with a listing on the New York Stock Exchange. At first, Kresge attempted to price his merchandise no more than 10 cents, but inflation triggered by World War I pushed it up to 15 cents and higher. With Kresge as president and chairman of the board, the company grew steadily, reaching over 600 stores by 1930. By the time he retired as company president, SS Kresge was making hundreds of millions of dollars in annual sales. In 1959, a man named Harry Cunningham became president of the SS Kresge Company. And with this position came one crucial assignment: tour all of Kresge's US stores and assess the future of the company and its competitors. After touring all the Kresge's US stores and sizing up potential competition, Cunningham became convinced that their competitors weren't other variety stores like themselves, but were new discount stores aiming for fast inventory turnover, which they could achieve by lower markups on a large assortment of small items. With this information, he concluded that higher sales volume, rather than higher markups, would boost the company's profits, which had dropped in the 1950s. So on March 1st, 1962, Kresge's entered the discount retail industry when they opened the first Kmart location in Garden City, Michigan. To put it lightly, Kmart was an instant success. Customers fell in love with the low prices and wide variety of merchandise they carried. That same year, however, Target and Walmart also opened their doors. Just 1 year after building the first Kmart, they'd already built 17 more. Different from Kresge stores, Kmarts were not placed in shopping centers. Instead, they strategically built them in plazas by themselves. The reason they did this was to avoid internal competition and also to provide parking. By 1966, Kmart had expanded to over 150 stores, and sales topped over $1 billion. This same year, a manager in Fort Wayne, Indiana, hatched the idea for their iconic blue light special. Over the loudspeaker, you'd hear, "Attention Kmart shoppers," and then you'd have 15 minutes to buy whatever item they were trying to get rid of. Throughout the 1970s, Kmart continued to grow at record speed. They were adding about 1 new store every week. This absurd growth plan helped expand their customer base and, of course, bring in more revenue. In 1976, their sales totaled a staggering $8.4 billion. By this time, Kmart had 1,200 stores, which accounted for 95% of all SS Kresge Company sales. Because of this, shareholders officially changed the company name to Kmart Corporation in 1977. But unfortunately, they had no way of knowing that in just 13 years, they'd be overtaken by Walmart, with no hopes of ever catching up. The end of the 1970s revealed cracks in Kmart's seemingly impenetrable position in the market. With competition ramping up, they had to think of new ways to make money and stay relevant. By 1980, their profits had sunk by 27%, and their inventory turnover dropped from 8 times per year to 4. With Walmart on the rise with their rock-bottom prices, and Target with their more inviting stores, this made Kmart come across as poor quality, and this intense competition prevented Kmart from raising their discount prices. So instead of raising prices, Kmart opted to cut the number of scheduled new stores to focus on remodeling their existing stores. And even though updating their existing stores proved to be a smart choice, their future investments were anything but smart. Insecure with their place in the market and wanting to grow as fast as possible, Kmart began acquiring various businesses. In 1984, they bought 2 companies, Builders Square and Walden Books. These companies were thriving when Kmart bought them, but today, they don't even exist. And from here on out, instead of improving their stores and their business plan, Kmart continued to make awful investments. Partnering with celebrities such as Martha Stewart and Jaclyn Smith was perhaps the only worthwhile investment throughout the 1980s. These celebrity-endorsed products helped their bottom line for a while, but in the end were unable to compensate for other poor choices. In November 1990, Walmart officially surpassed Kmart in sales, becoming the largest retailer in the US. Kmart responded by acquiring 2 more businesses that would eventually go out of business, Borders Books and Sports Authority. However, at the time, these investments actually helped Kmart, at least for a short while. In 1993, their sales topped $37 billion, with a profit of $941 million. This was arguably their last decent year as a company, because by the following year in 1994, their sales dropped to $34 billion. And from those sales, they made no profit, but lost $940 million. Business analysts began predicting Kmart's end, and rumors of bankruptcy began circling. Floyd Hall, who was then president of the company, set out to prove that Kmart wasn't going anywhere and that they wouldn't go down without a fight. Wasting no time, Hall got right to work, starting a new advertising program featuring comedian Rosie O'Donnell, along with a $750 million remodeling plan. And to help reduce costs, Hall sold 112 of their stores in Canada to Hudson's Bay Company for $167 million. Thanks to these moves, Hall temporarily saved Kmart from total destruction. And by 1998, Kmart was profitable again, and they stayed profitable for the next 2 years. When Hall retired as president in 2000, a man named Charles Conway replaced him. As Kmart's financial performance once again headed south, Conway began making major changes in the company. He started by closing 72 underperforming stores and launched a $1.7 billion program to improve the supply chain. He also brought back their Blue Light Special to help bring back some excitement into the stores. His last move, however, drove Kmart into the ground. In August 2001, Conway decided to start a price war with Walmart. He tried to beat Walmart at their own game. But Walmart wasted no time ruthlessly matching or undercutting Kmart's prices. The worst part is, Kmart multiplied their mistake by simultaneously cutting back on advertising, which led to fewer and fewer customers. Sales fell drastically in late 2001, in particular during the crucial holiday shopping season. And this massive decline in sales resulted in a liquidity crisis, leading Kmart to file for bankruptcy on January 22, 2002. At the time, they were the largest retailer ever to do so. In March 2002, Kmart announced the closure of 284 underperforming stores, which eliminated over 20,000 jobs. However, a few years later in 2005, a man named Eddie Lampert, a hedge fund executive, combined Sears and Kmart into one giant business disaster called Sears Holdings. Even though Eddie Lampert pledged to return both Sears and Kmart to their former glory, he failed. With the state of both companies and the recession and the rise of Amazon, Eddie's plan proved impossible. Many criticize Eddie Lampert for his lack of a retail background and allege that he seemed more interested in selling the company's assets for cash value than fixing either of the companies. And even though Sears Holdings sued him, claiming he looted assets from the company and drove it into bankruptcy, you can't blame Kmart's demise entirely on Eddie. Kmart was broken when Eddie bought it, but it's worth noting that he also did nothing to save it and tore it down even further. And in 2018, Sears Holdings filed for bankruptcy, marking the point of no return for both Sears and Kmart. But sadly, it didn't have to end this way. Every single one of Kmart's issues stem from a lack of vigilance. Instead of watching out for danger, they willingly walked into it every chance they got. Somehow, after decades of business, Kmart never found their niche. Instead of investing in random businesses, they should have invested time to actually define their target demographic instead of selling random low-priced items to random people. Walmart, for instance, decided early on that they wanted to be the low-price leader and invested in technology to make that happen. Target, on the other hand, took an upmarket approach with slightly higher prices and trendier merchandise and store layouts. Kmart, through their lack of planning, got stuck in the middle. Over time, they became the more expensive, boring version of two remarkably better stores. And somehow, no one at Kmart ever saw this coming or did anything to define themselves in the market. They weren't paying attention and hadn't been for a long time. Even though over the years, Kmart had moments of redemption, their true prime was in the 70s. And ever since, they've been trying and failing to recreate their past success. At best, they have another 5 years of fruitless existence before they disappear from our lives forever. But what do you think? Does Kmart have any chance of survival, or is this the end of their rope? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.